We have a quorum, so that means we're going to be able to get started. All right. Good afternoon. It is our pleasure to call this special call meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for the City of Natchez to order. I'm going to ask everyone, if you would, to please stand. Stand for our prayer to be followed by our pledge. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Father, we thank you for the rain. We thank you for the sunshine. We thank you for all of those days and times in between, because truly, oh Lord, we know you're always at work, favoring us and blessing us. We ask your favor now and your blessing upon this meeting. May everything we discuss and deliberate be pleasing to you. And Father, we also pray your blessings upon Natchez during this weekend to come. We pray for safety. We pray that everyone would enjoy a safe and happy Independence Day celebration. We thank you for freedom. We thank you for America. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let us now repeat together our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We will ask the clerk to administer the roll call.
Alderwoman Hall. Here. Alderman Frazier. Here. Alderwoman Smith. Here. Alderwoman Irvin. Alderman Davis. Here. Alderman Dillard. Alderman Irvin is absent. Everyone is accounted for.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we go any further, I want to just say it is a real pleasure to be back here again at NAPAC. And we want to thank Mr. Bobby Dennis, the director here, for making this opportunity available for us. We also want to recognize, I believe we have two founders of NAPAC present. We have Ms. Mary White and Ms. Juanita Jones, and we want to acknowledge you at this time. We also want to say this. We started this tradition, if you'll recall, a year ago, and it is our desire as a statement of the importance of our African American history and our African American citizens to every year about this time to have our official board meeting here at NAPAC. Last year, we were able to do it during the month of June, during the time of Juneteenth. This year, the calendar was a little different. So here we are technically on July 1, but we're here. And so with that said, we just want to thank you again for letting us be here. And we are going to talk about NAPAC in just a few minutes. And hello, Mr. Ben, good to see you. First of all, we're going to follow our agenda, and I don't believe we have any minutes today to approve, and we had no visitors on the agenda today. So we'll move into city business, and we will have a public hearing with Frankie Legault, and this is for the purpose of entertaining an application regarding a possible rezoning. I will ask for a motion to call to order a public hearing for this purpose.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith and seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion on the motion. I'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we now will declare a public hearing to be in effect, and we are going to introduce Ms. Frankie Legault, who, by the way, is our new city planner. And this is, I believe, her first meeting to actually be presenting to us in her official capacity. And so give her a hand and welcome Ms. Frankie Legault.
I'm happy to be back to Natchez. This is application PC 2207 at 381 John R. Junkin Drive. You have the map number before you, and it's Josh McDonald, who owns McDonald Collision, is requesting to rezone a developed property from single-family residential R1 to highway business. This was heard at the April 21st, 22 Planning Commission, and they voted to recommend approval to rezone the property. And their decision, there was some discussion there, and their decision was based on the fact that residential uses abutting a railroad track was not the most logical use of that property. So there was some discussion there about that, and that's what they decided that the McDonald Collision would be a buffer between the railroad track and the residential properties that are already located there on the opposite side of Choctaw and along Cherokee Street. Now, those properties on Cherokee Street, it's the rear of the property that backs up to the Moose Lodge property, as it's commonly known. This is a roughly triangular 2.06 acre tract that they're requesting to rezone. Mr. McDonald was under the impression that he was going to rezone all of the Moose Lodge property, but what happened was they failed to recognize there were 6 lots that abut Choctaw Street and this triangular property that are also part of the Moose Lodge property. So those are not included today. It's just this one track. And what we are doing is this month, we will be taking those 6 tracks back to the Planning Commission for them to look at that. And the reason we can't just automatically included is because it was not advertised for, and we have to advertise for this. It also may make a difference in the buffer that's around it. We have to send out notices to people who are within 160 feet. So some of those properties are 130 to 170 feet deep that we would be rezoning. So it could affect the people that were notified, but we will be sending out another ad in the paper that would include those 6 properties. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm not going to bother to read through the whole thing. It's a lot of.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Hall.
I move to approve application number PC 22-07 to rezone the subject property from single-family residential R1 to highway business B4.
All right. If we could ask you to hold that motion and also hold the second until we go back into our regular meeting. We do have a public hearing, and we do need to entertain any public comments before officially entertaining the motion. We do have some questions. This is a time where anyone in the public can comment, and any alderman can ask a question. Alderman Frazier, you're recognized.
This 6 tracts of land, is Mr. McDonald gonna buy the 6 tracts of land or what? The 6 tracts in question, we're only talking about the building itself.
Yes, most of the building, there's a slight corner of the building that appears to be in one of those other tracks that the Moose Lodge owns, but it only appears that way on the map. You would really have to get out there on the ground, and was only a small corner of it. But this would enable him to use the remainder of the property if he wanted to park the vehicles on it or working on that main part of the building.
Okay, I'm kind of like confused. I know he down on the highway, he got a shop down there. I'm correct?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Do he own that?
He owns that track, and there's a separate 30-foot wide track that's owned by the Moose Lodge that used to be an easement, but it actually is now a piece of property with its own number that's already zoned B4, and it's abutting the McDonald Collision property. So he would be buying that property as well as the property up past the railroad track.
Okay, my other concern is this not going to affect the railroad track because
No, it will not affect the railroad track. There is no, where the railroad track is, it's a crossing and they are allowed to cross it there. If that's part of the deed, which I have, okay, that they are allowed to cross it there. But it's not a real public crossing because there isn't any guardrails or there's no whistles or anything like that. It's just a permission for the Moose Lodge to go, people to go across it.
That's my next question. Who's going to maintain that railroad track? There's not, as you say, there's not any bells or whistles up there. If something happens, who's going to be responsible for that?
The easement there?
Yes, ma'am, the railroad
If he
track
purchases it,
itself.
he will be responsible for it. And that should pass with it because it is on the deed to the property that the owner of that property has the right to cross the railroad track there. But he will also have access from Choctaw Street. They have about, I think, once we get those other properties rezoned, he'll have approximately 200 feet of road frontage on Choctaw. There's also part of Natchez Street that already goes down into the property, and
Yes.
and that's where the gate is. If you drive by Choctaw Street, that's where the gate is to the Moose Lodge property.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
Has the, do we know what he's going to do with the Moose Lodge facility? Is he going to demolish it? Is he going to use it for, I don't know, repairs or office space or?
What I understand from him that he would like to do is he wants to park some of the vehicles there that he's waiting to fix so that they're off the street, so it doesn't look, it doesn't make John R. Junkin look bad. Okay. So they would be parked up on that, up on the ridge there behind that row of trees that the railroad has there.
Yes.
The other thing, I think he has plans to do some interior work so that he can work on some cars inside the Moose Lodge, like he does now inside the building there on John R. Junkin.
My other question would be, has there been, and I'm assuming there's been public hearings, any comments from the residents that abut and adjoin this property?
I was not at the meeting. That was before I got here, but I did not see any I read the entire minutes and there were not any in the minutes, and that it was an exact transcript of the minutes. So I did not find any there, and there were not any letters in the file, the people who objected.
Would
Ms. Mayor.
the other question be that they would have had an opportunity from an advertisement, they would have made aware of it? In other words, the fact that they didn't doesn't mean that it wasn't publicly announced.
We actually,
correct?
letters went out to people that
They
were,
did.
or that were within 160 feet of the triangular piece of property.
Could there be any difference between a collision body shop parking vehicles to be repaired in a junkyard? Is there a distinction between
Well,
those
the
two in zoning?
junkyards are generally not allowed in B4. It's a collision repair that's allowed in
I think
B4. The junkyards would be in industrial.
Okay, you
zone.
just answered my question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Mayor.
right, thank you.
I have one more.
Alderman, I'm sorry,
Mr.
Alderwoman Hall was next.
Yes, sir. I've been informed by some of the Preservation Commission members that there was no public objection to this at the Planning Commission meeting. There were no objections to that. There was no one publicly objecting to this. I have spoken to Mr. McDonald, and he is doing exactly what Ms. Legault has said he plans to do with that property.
Thank you,
Mr.
thank you.
Mayor.
Alderman Frazier?
Yes, I still have concerns about, you stated that you're gonna be fixing vehicles up there too. And
Yes, he has, if you just look at this map.
I'm familiar with,
Yeah,
I'm familiar with it.
What he has in red is there. I don't know what he plans to do with that portion of the property. I think he just wanted to purchase the whole property. That we could ask, if he has any plans for those, we could ask at the next meeting, because that's not the subject of,
Yes.
we haven't.
Here's
Advertising.
Yeah.
another question. The other question is if he purchases property, for eyesore purpose and all these cars, then are you gonna put a fence up or anything around that building?
There,
Then you know it's also the noise from that building, noise from that business in the neighborhood, people's over there dealing with the neighbors.
there appears to be a fence around the whole property. I could not tell because the foliage was so dense along the back of the properties on Cherokee Street, but I could see bits and pieces of the fence and amongst the thing. I think he had mentioned to me that if there was any problem with the fencing, he was planning to repair that so the property would be entirely fenced in. Also, at the foliage is usually used as a buffer many times when you have two different types of zoning. And the benefit of foliage, it's not like a fence where the noise goes through it. But from what I understand, he's going to use the inside of the building for all the working things. He's just, the outside will simply be storage of
All right.
of the
Thank
property.
you. I think we are coming to the end of this discussion. I'd like for us to move back into our regular meeting so that we could take up the motion. I don't detect that there is any public comment now. Yes, Alderwoman
Just gonna
Smith?
make the motion to move back into a regular meeting.
Adjourn the
Second.
public hearing. Okay, Alderwoman Smith has made the motion to adjourn the public hearing and return to our regular meeting. It has been seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question.
Called.
We'll proceed to the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. With one against, we will have a roll call vote in that event. Alderwoman Hall,
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, Alderwoman Smith, Alderwoman Irving. I'm sorry. Okay, an abstention. Not voting. Okay. Yes, we're going back to the regular meeting. Alderman Davis, Alderman Dillard. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We are back in the regular meeting. Alderwoman Hall, I'll now entertain your motion.
Yes, sir. I move to approve application number PC 22-07 to rezone the subject property from single-family residential R1 to highway business B4.
All right, a motion has been made,
Second.
seconded by Alderwoman Smith. Now discussion on the motion. Yes, Alderman Frazier.
I just have issues with it in doing this because the railroad issues, the buffer issues and everything else around this property. It's just my firm belief in the near future that something might come up dealing with this railroad and this buffer zone around this business.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Any further discussion? We will call for the question.
Call.
The question has been called. We'll proceed to a vote. This will be a roll call vote. Alderwoman Hall,
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, Alderwoman Smith,
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving, Alderman Davis, Alderman Dillard. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ms. Legault. Also, let the record indicate, Madam Clerk, that Alderwoman Irving is present. Yes, Alderwoman. All right. We will now move to our next item, other city business, and we'll have an update, a NAPAC update from Mr. Bobby Dennis, the director. Mr. Dennis, you're recognized.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to thank this board, the city, and our members for the support that we've received from each of you over this past year. It's very important to us as a museum to express our growth, our contributions to our guests when they come to visit this city, and to have the support of the entire city all in one lump sum. The support of our Main Street partners and neighbors. It means a lot to this museum. So I want you guys to know that we appreciate it. In our meeting last year, we discussed 5 points in which we wanted to work with and complete it. The first point was to rework a video presentation of Natchez. The second one was to increase awareness of the museum through better distribution, trying to reach that 100-mile market around us. Third one, add banners to the front. Fourth, complete a display of the old Black Business District. And the fifth one was to finish the implementation of the kiosk system, which we've installed. Well, we've completed pretty much everything except one, and that is the kiosk system. What we're finding out about this kiosk system is through accepting guests, it's playing a more important role than we ever could imagine because of the history of Natchez and the number of people we impact, not only just in this city, but it looks like from all over the United States. We have people coming into this museum, finding glimpses of descendants and relatives, and we have information that they are not accustomed to seeing. This is becoming very important. So what we're doing now, even in our advanced goals for next year, is to expand the system, expand the database of this system. It's going to be a lot of work, and I doubt if we'll ever get it complete within the next 2 or 3 years. But the biggest thing is that we're going to attempt to get this done, not just for the African American community, but for the whole community of Natchez. Because we have found out that we are more connected than separated. And we're going to have to come to these terms, and we're the only place that's putting this information out there and making it available to our guests. On the banners, everyone should notice the banners now. We thank the city for putting forth that effort of giving us colorful banners. Banners that keep us recognized. We appreciate that. It helps bring awareness. It helps accent this community, this side of the street. Let them know that we care about ourselves. On the awareness, our advertisement efforts last year has gained us quite a bit of notoriety. Last year, for the entire year of 2020, we had a visitors rate of 2,734. That's the entire year. The first 6 months of this year, our visitors rate is 3,053. When we talk
Could
about
you give us that number again? So 2020,
2021,
2021,
2,734 visitors came through this museum. From January 1 through June 30 of this year, 3,053 visitors have walked through the doors of this museum. This did not come by just one singular effort. This came from the effort that's being put forth by the city. Visit Natchez.org, the input. All of this make a difference for our community. To assess this in terms of what value we bring to the community, tax-wise, we haven't made it that far in analyzing data. But by looking at these numbers, we are making an input. All the restaurants on this street, they recognize us for sending that customer there. When we evaluate the number of these coming from the boat and those that are coming from the 100-mile radius, we're finding out that 100-mile radius is the one that's kicking the deal.
really?
Which is putting us over the top. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll understand it better. It all depends on how well we can catch this data and use it to push forward the city of Natchez. Now, on other parts of advertisement, we have finally gotten recognition as a museum in a national, I would say, educational magazine. I brought copies. I'm going to let you guys look at this. Pass it down because they didn't give us enough copies. I wish I could, but not this one. We got 5 pages in a national history magazine. That's right. Publicated all over this area of the South. You can't ask for anything better than that. This was not something that we went out and solicited. They came to us for this. That's important. It's important for us to let the city know how much attention we are putting out there, bringing forward to this city. And that goes to where we want to go for our plans of next year. We've set aside 5 more sets of goals in which we're definitely going to work on and work toward getting. The first is to evaluate the lighting system in this museum. We need better lighting. We realize it. And we need some lighting that's going to not only make this place a little brighter on the inside, but highlight these exhibits we have in here. From all the guests that come through here, the first thing they tell us, you know, what makes you so special is that you have backup material for everything you show us. Backup material. We're not interpreting a story, we're letting them interpret it. We're giving them something to see. Developing a complete tour guidebook that engages our visitors to this journey that they can see here in Natchez, the African American site. It's good that we're working on the market system, but when we are not giving them that hands-on approach, and a lot of places in which we let them visit, they just can't have someone there with them all the time. So what we're doing is putting together an interpretive book that takes you through every one of the sites and gives you a definition of who was involved with the site, let you get an understanding of the people of Natchez, not the building. We want them to realize that these were individuals who lived through a period of time that were working toward developing this city. And they need to know that gift and that talent in which they've given us. We want to produce a 2-story presentation for Watkins Street. Watkins Street is important to us. That Watkins Street Cemetery is one of the most important landmarks for us and rarely talked about. Because after slavery, when we have a group of individuals, free individuals that see the need of building a place where they could be buried together and rested, making some place available for us to keep our loved ones near. This is something we need to respect. And we need to ensure that we get the word out there so we can get as many supporters from outside of this community as well as inside the community to contribute to its upkeep and beautification. So we applaud the city on working on that. These are important steps for us as a community. And we want to let everyone know that we appreciate everything that's done, but we are going to go out there and work ourselves to do it too. Natchez College story. Second most important thing that we need to work on. I want to be able to show us the value of education to these young people. The struggle of education here in Natchez has been great. We have been leaders in education for a long time, and we need to let our young people know to continue that process. So we're going to work on the story, especially for Natchez College. And one of the last things we want to do is work with our local churches in establishing a database of membership. This will give us a closer glimpse at being able to work on a genetic source in place. Because most churches are going to give us the background to our heritage. We'll find it in a church cemetery or we'll find it in a church record. And Natchez has tons of churches. And we need to have those histories, those backgrounds, so we can continue to follow the individuals that participated at those places. And I think, Mayor, that would be about all I have on that end. Now, my next future goals as to what we would love the mayor to help us with. I gave you a sheet. I passed out a sheet of proposals on the back. I don't want to read all that. But to be honest with you, this, after you go over it and review that proposal, you can get an understanding of why we gave you that proposal. This is a very hard job, it's a trying job, let me tell you. And we need support of the entire city. We can't do it by ourselves. The work that we need to do, the ability to train others to do the same work so none of this stuff fall by the wayside. It's important to show Natchez as Natchez, to show why we were the center of activity. Please, we would like you to consider that proposal.
Mayor,
Yes, Alderwoman Hall.
thank you very much, Mr. Dennis, for all that you do and your board. Thank you all very much. And I'm glad to see that you are considering a residential curator program. Curator is going to be vital to the success of this museum, and will also provide you with opportunities for grant funding.
Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
may I would like to thank first NAPAC, Ms. Mary White, Ms. Flora Terrell, Ms. Juanita Jones, Patricia Washington, and Ms. Joseph Camp. Ladies, there was a wonderful idea and it's a very beneficial idea to this community coming up with this NAPAC museum. As I look here and I see the this NAPAC museum is also a vital asset to the whole city of Natchez. This museum here, as Mr. Dennis stated earlier, we're steady getting visitors to come in and visit this wonderful museum. I want to thank the former mayors, the former aldermen, and the present mayor and board of aldermen for keeping this alive. As I stated earlier, this is beneficial there. And as a board member, I think that the city of Natchez and all of us are on the right track in keeping this museum alive. And when you look around, I think, Mr. Dennis, we can do a little more work in here, and we can educate we can educate everyone. And as being a member of the Black community, we can educate more on what transpired over the years and where we came. This is something that you see in Washington, D.C. This is not a museum whereby just for Blacks, because when you go to Washington, D.C., you see every ethnic group in this museum, and that's what we want. We want just people to come and see what transpired over the year and see what Natchez have to offer. We have a wonderful museum, and as I said earlier, when we look around, we are going places. We're not going to stand still. So I'm going to let the mayor speak because I know he's much more long-winded than me.
No.
And I know he got something to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, board members, for this wonderful presentation. And I thank y'all for letting us come here.
Thank you, Alderman. Other discussion? Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
Thank you for assisting me with that. Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank everyone for allowing us to have a meeting here today, continue the relationship with the NAPAC members And I also want to thank you. As I read through this information here, I realized it was a proposal, and this is something that we need with our opera funds. Maybe the board can consider. I see you have it broken down here, this budget, and maybe this is something we can do as a board, since we have a proposal. He's broken it down as to the spending, what it's going to be done for, that maybe this is something we can do with our opera funds. Consider this. I would like the board to consider this.
Certainly.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Thank you. Further discussion? I just want to say, Mr. Dennis, you are fantastic. This is a great report. It's a great report. I also want to say it is such a pleasure to come here now and to see the fresh paint, to see the banners. And the banners are actually aluminum, lightweight aluminum. They'll last a long time. I want to also publicly thank all the work that Dustin Hinkle did with that, along with the designer, Vidal Blankenstein, and also the Public Works crew members who worked so hard to get them up. And it was some rough weather. They were out there in freezing weather conditions getting them up for February, but it's just great. We also, I know Ms. Hardy, we've been talking even just this morning about the signs, and we hope that we will get those signs in soon. They're going to be great, and they're going to look great all over town. Hopefully we can have an event this fall. It's been quite a chore to get all these signs done, approved, and then to finally get them ordered and delivered. And we did get the first delivery just a couple weeks ago. They look beautiful, but we had to send them back off because they had to have the mounts put on them for the poles. So that will be done soon. We just can't say enough for what NAPAC means to this community. And I echo everything that's been said, especially the accolades to former mayors, to former alderpersons, and to the founders of this organization. And I also have to say, I think a lot of former Mayor Butch Brown and all that he put into making sure that this building was set aside for NAPAC. And so we look forward to working with you on these goals. I think they're great. I want you to see what I wrote on mine. It says great with an exclamation point. And we want to work with you in every way, looking at what we have in ARP funds, looking also at what we can have made available through grants and whatever we can do. So we got a great year ahead. We'll work with you.
Mr. Mayor, that's the importance of a curator. More grant opportunities.
I am excited about that. And also our good friend Greg Harper has continually told me that Secretary Bonnie Bunch, from Washington, D.C., who's with the Smithsonian and was so integral and such a part of getting the National Museum for African American History and Civil Rights, working with all of those institutions in Washington, that he is still available to consult with us in Natchez, Mississippi. So good things. Thank you. Well, with that, we will move on with our agenda. We don't have any unfinished business today. We don't have any county business. Department directors reports. Mr. Johnston, you're recognized. Afternoon.
I did provide you with a draft of my report in your respective packets. Just the other day, I have had some edits, to it. First item is the North Natchez Park Youth Center with funding from our recreation bond issue. Bids were received for the reference project in the city clerk's office at 2:00 p.m. on Tuesday, June 22nd, and then opened, read aloud, and taken under advisement to the next meeting of the Mayor Board of Aldermen. A summary of the bids are as follows, and you can, see we did have two bidders, that being Owen Holland & Sons and Smith Painting and Contracting, and we had two bid packages as well. Bid package 1, exterior package with interior renovation and exterior and interior demo, and bid package 2, interior renovation. And bid package two did also have an alternate, and that being work associate upstairs. And you can see how the bids came out. For Owen Holland and Sons, bid package 1, base bid was $380, and bid package 2, $289, adding in there the alternate of $22,000 for a total for Owen Holland and Sons, $511,000. Then Smith Painting and Contracting, base bid package 1 for $348,900, base bid package 2, $452,500. Then you have the add alternate for bid package 2 at $23,500 for a grand total right there. Oh, well, grand total bottom, sorry, I looked at the wrong numbers, my bad on that. Owen Holland and Sons grand total was $891, and Smith Painting and Contracting grand total was $824,900. And you see the respective calendar dates for them to do the work. You see the funds we have available for the project pursuant to conversations I've had in the past with Ms. Megan McKenzie, the city clerk. And we do have a I'm right now seeking advice of the board as what they want to do with regard to the bids received. If they want to accept anything today or take under further advice before review.
What is the pleasure of the board? Alderwoman Hall?
I move that Smith Painting and Contracting be awarded the bid for North Natchez Park Youth Center as the lowest and best bid.
And would that be bid package number 1?
Bid package
for the?
number 1.
All right. All right, a motion has been made by Alderwoman Hall. Do I have a second? Second by Alderwoman Smith. Discussion on the motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
And I want to thank Mr. Johnson for putting this together, and I got the information I requested. I just didn't know I had it. And reviewing this, the concerns I have, Mr. Mayor, is that our whole recreational initiative, it's just becoming discombobulated. I mean, we originally started out, below $2 million and got up to $2 million. And, every number that we're seeing, the numbers are just exaggerated to the point that you have to ask yourself the question, is this the right thing to do at the right time? And I can see here where the bid package won by the professional, actually, the bid came in a little lower than that at $354. However, on the interior, and the interior's got to follow, why would we be reserving an exterior of a building if you can't use it? That number's, the estimate on that was $275,550, and the bids are coming in $200,000 over that. And I just think there's going to have to be, some sort of maybe tap the brakes here and get a firmer grasp on where we're going with this recreation. Because right now, I don't see that your $2 million bond is going to cover this. And that means that the money's got to come from somewhere else. And we are now going into that season of trying to understand what our next year's budget is going to be. And just for comparison, this building is going to cost the low bid, $825,000 to put this building back in place. And if you compare that to the other recreational investments that we're going to make at the youth center, this by far dwarfs all of them. The money has now gone from a recreational effort to restoring a building. And I think the first step that we made the mistake off of was we were going to keep this old building. But when you made that decision, you almost doubled the cost of this effort. And you can compare that to the tennis facility that has a pro shop, and it's showering and bathroom facilities. It has an open area there. It can do merchandising, and it came in at $400,000. This is twice that much, and more. The concerns I have is that these prices are coming in higher, and we're entering in this at the beginning of the process. And I can tell you without a doubt, anytime you venture into an old building and in a renovation, there is the unknown, and it is there. You have to plan for it, and you can expect it. So whatever cost you're looking at, it ain't going to go down. It's going to go up.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderwoman, thank you, Alderman Dillard. Alderwoman Hall.
I'd like to remind the board that we unanimously approved that we would restore this historic building at North Natchez Park.
I didn't think
This
we
board
opened it.
also unanimously
I'm sorry,
approved.
Alderwoman Hall has the
The board
floor.
also unanimously approved for us to apply for Mississippi landmark status. And that status result should be coming to us this summer. That will also afford us more opportunities for grants, including grants from the state, to help in the restoration of this historic building.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Alderwoman Hall.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman
I think
Dillard.
I'd like to qualify. I do not remember voting unanimously for a renovation at all costs, no matter what it is. And I certainly think that we're approaching that. And I certainly think that it sounds like you're going to apply for grants after the fact. I hope that they can be prorated or post-dated or whatever it is. But the idea that we voted unanimously to fund this at all costs is not reasonable and is not sound nor practical. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
I understand which way Alderman Dillon is going, but as you say, it's an old building. We know that from the start, but as Ms. Hall stated, we did agree that we would redo the youth center. And it's, as you say, it's unfortunate that we're in a time now where about the cost of material and everything is going up. We wasn't expecting this, but we had if I'm not mistaken, the first bid we came in was like when Mayor Grinnell was in, was $300-some thousand. Now it probably run a little over $300-some thousand to redo that building. Like, but this is just an unfortunate incident, as maybe stated. We probably gonna have to, I don't know, we probably gonna have to buckle down and try to find some more money to get this building done. So it's just one of those unfortunate things, and that's the cost of doing business.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know one of the things we discussed at our last Recreation Committee meeting was the fact that we would start with this bid package number 1 and get the outside safe and sound so that no more destruction happens to the building, because it is important historically. So that's where we are. We haven't, bid on doing 800,000 yet. I mean, there are things that can wait. Some things might have to be put further down the road as we go along, but I think this is the step that we have to take now, is to make sure that outside is safe. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further discussion? Alderwoman Irving.
I wholeheartedly agree about preserving the building, but I have great concerns. We're over the $2 million that we applied for the recreation fund. I have great concerns with that. I want to restore it, but there's so many other things that we have to do to that park as well. And so we are going to be over the $2 million. We got the tennis courts. So what I guess what I want to see is a breakdown and to see what all is going to be done. Is that possible to receive that? So that we can see what we're looking at without spendings and that itemized list.
Are you referring with regard to this bid or the overall, this bid? We do have the architect here, Mr. Waycaster, if you could speak to the Alderwoman's question.
I do have several comments, if I may, and we have submitted a thorough breakdown of the cost of what's happening on the building. We intentionally broke this project into bid packages because we knew that the project was not completely funded at this point, and that's not been a question from the beginning. We knew that there was a need to pursue additional funds, and the decision is, with the board, is simply, do we preserve the building or do we let it go? Because it's about to fall down. Yeah. And bid package 1 is demolition, both interior and exterior, and it's a complete and thorough renovation of the exterior, which stabilizes the building and continues its life in the proper manner. And in a manner, too, that will allow you to pursue the status that you're seeking with Mississippi Landmark. And actually that bid, the low bid on that was lower than what we truly anticipated. Bids are crazy these days. As far as the exterior work, there's nothing else that we can do differently and still meet your objectives with that. With the interior, there's ways of discussing finishes, how much demolition we actually do inside, how we use the space, and we can manipulate those numbers, and it might be wise to manipulate those numbers that way. Those numbers did sound extremely high for the interior, but I don't think we'll ever get a better number on the exterior for what we're trying to accomplish with it unless you change your objective and allow the building to deteriorate. But we do have, back to your original question, I apologize for straying away from that. I have a copy here, but it's been submitted wherever Mr. Johnson went. The city has a thorough breakdown of all the work that's to be accomplished in both phases, interior and exterior.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderwoman Hall?
Mr. Waycaster, the demolition you're speaking of on the exterior, that's only that additional section of that building. We're not talking about demolishing that building.
Well, there's a package air conditioning unit and a chain link fence that's demolished. There's a concrete set of steps down the back that gets demolished. There's a lot of deterioration and rot that gets pulled off to be replaced. That's part of the demolition. The front columns have completely.
I just want to make sure you're not talking to the public about demolishing this entire building.
We're simply returning back to the original.
Correct.
structure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
I want to acknowledge, I think Alderwoman Smith framed it up as the question in hand to stabilize the exterior of the building. Fully knowing well that there's going to have to be some more discussion about how we proceed with the interior.
Yes, sir.
Again, if you look at the investment that we're making into recreation, you can't help but think that we're doing that for the children and the good of the community. And I'm thinking of exterior types of activities. The vast majority of that into a building is just really hard to be candid and frank with the public of the intentions of what you were going to do with this bond money. Restoring buildings and not putting in more recreational facilities. And the recreational facilities there, are certainly going to be in higher demand. But I do want to make that comment, and I understand, and I think Ms. Alderwoman Smith made a clear distinction as to what we're being asked at this moment and at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Call for the question.
Second.
The question has been called. I will say this before we proceed to a vote. I'm very grateful that the base bid to preserve the exterior and restore it has come within our budgeted capability. And that being said, this does stay within the amount of the $2 million. Obviously, we have known for some time we will have to go beyond that in order to restore the interior. I'm very grateful, however, that we do have ARP funds available to us, but also that we have other funding strategies. But it is important to point out, as Alderwoman Hall said, and I know from the beginning, Alderwoman Hall, we're here at NAPAC. This is a museum dedicated to telling the story. Well, a very important of our Natchez story is this building, because there was a day and time when this was the only building, the only community center available for the use of African-American citizens here in Natchez. And I applaud you, Alderwoman Hall, when we were looking at what to do, and you fought so hard to save it, not only to save it, but to nominate it for Mississippi landmark status. I understand that we have already cleared the main hurdle in Jackson of getting that approved, and final approval is coming, and that will open the way for grants. And so,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
good things to come. Let's now proceed to a vote. We will do this as a roll call vote. Alderwoman Hall,
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, Alderwoman Smith,
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving, Alderman Davis, Alderman Dillard.
Hold on, I got to get my mic. Aye.
Aye, okay. Let the record reflect that this did pass unanimously. Give yourselves a hand. This is a great first step. I wish we had the drawing with us, but it's a great first step. I do have this question. So now that we've approved it, when can work commence? Wow. That's great. And the time of completion is, says 210 days, but for just the exterior, how long will we be looking at? Okay.
That's not included.
Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you pointed it
Yes,
out. because,
Alderman Dillard.
you know, again, we're talking about the exterior of the building, and I can
I'm sorry,
see
Alderman Dillard has
in-
the floor.
In your mindset, it's already getting blurred. We're not to the second phase. So, you know, that's why you answered correctly. This does with the exterior of the building and selected demolition within the interior of the buildings as identified in this bid package. And so don't start blurring those two. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Dillard. Next item, Mr. Johnston.
Yes, sir. Natchez Adams County Aquatic Center with our 2019 Land and Water Conservation Fund application. Pursuant to the guidelines of the program, staff is requesting a motion to add a limitation of use restriction to tax parcel number 43-13.1 containing 2.53 acres for which the Natchez Adams County Aquatic Center is located, ensuring its continuous use as an outdoor recreation area for the use and benefit of the general public.
So what is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall. Second by Alderwoman Smith. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Hall.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Attorney, what is the status of the request of the board at our last meeting to seek the Board of Aldermen and the board, the supervisors sharing cost for an audit of the pool funds?
Yes, Mr. Callaway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The vote of the alderman and mayor has been presented to Mr. Slover. And I have seen copies of emails where the supervisors were included. Mr. Slover related that they are working on the bank accounts, that Silas Simmons is preparing those bank statements and has been working with those statements. They would like to see those completely finished before they vote on an audit, and that should be forthcoming shortly. So we will have more information, and the Board of Supervisors should have more information next week, hopefully.
Thank you, Mr. Callaway. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Callaway.
Mayor, one
Yes,
follow-up
Alderwoman.
statement. This new interlocal agreement is between the Board of Aldermen and the Board of Supervisors. Therefore, Mr. Callaway, would you please ask Mr. Slover to ask the Board of Supervisors to remove any remnants of the Y's participation with that pool from the pools building?
All right. Thank you. Just to make sure the agreement only pertains to the city and the county.
Yes, as well as.
Thank you.
Yes, any
Further-
remnants of the Natchez Adams School District as well.
Oh, yes. Further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. Alderwoman Irving and then Alderman Dillard. And please use your microphone, Alderwoman.
Okay, so the school board is not a part of this interlocal agreement? They won't be a part of it?
That was changed a year ago, I believe. Am I correct? Yeah, that was the current agreement. No, the current agreement is between the county and the school, and this is just an additional, I'm sorry, the county and the city. And this is just an additional step in, but no, if you would look back on the minutes, I think it's about a year ago, when we voted, but we had a very lengthy discussion and a vote was taken, and a new recreational council only pertaining to the pool and the soccer field was established. Appointments to be made by the city and also by the county, and the school board would no longer be a part of that. And that was voted on at a meeting last year. Certainly, just oh yes, it has. It was submitted to the board and voted on finally last year, and a copy of that interlocal agreement was in our packets and was given to everyone last year at that meeting. But certainly, you can contact the city attorney for a copy if you need one. Further discussion, Mr. Dillard, Alderman Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One for Mr. Johnson. Is this just a oversight, or is this a new designation? It's hard for me to imagine an outdoor swimming pool becoming anything other than an outdoor recreation area. I'm not sure what is the intent or of this requirement.
It's a requirement of the program, but not an oversight. We did the same for our last project, which involved these same monies, and that being the Duncan Park Tennis Pro Shop. And also when the city received monies 30 years ago for other rec projects, same thing, to ensure that they are continued for recreation and public use.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Formality. I will call for the question.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you so much. We will recognize now Ms. Frankie Legault, our city planner.
The first item that I have is we have had a resignation letter from Mr. L.D. Lang from the Natchez Preservation Meeting, and I'm requesting that you accept his resignation.
It was a pleasure of the board. Alderwoman Hall has
So
made the
moved.
motion, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Lang has shared that his work has interfered with his ability to attend these meetings, which is his reason for resignation.
We want to thank him for his service. At this time, however, we will entertain a call for the question. We will proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. The next item, Ms. Legault.
The next item is I'm requesting approval to publish notice in the newspaper to solicit responses from citizens who are interested in historic preservation and in serving on the commission.
So moved.
Second.
I would like to note that that ad should also be published in the Bluff City Post.
There is a
Okay.
proposed schedule, if we can get it in next Wednesday's paper.
Mhm.
We'll be publishing it then, and then the last day we would accept the application would be the 27th, and that will be in the ad. And then we'll have a meeting of the ordinance committee, and then we'll come back to the August 9th Board of Aldermen meeting with a recommendation.
Right, thank you. Further discussion? We'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Next item.
Yeah, the second item I have on the agenda is received a call from MDAH a week ago Thursday, and they have approximately $8,600 that they were unable to allocate to projects at their May Board of Trustees meeting, and this is for fiscal year 2022. And they wondered if we might be interested in doing some sort of project with that, which would require 50-50, so it would require allocation of $8,600. I talked with the Historic Natchez Foundation, and they had two suggestions of things that they had wanted to do, and I'm going to pass down pictures of this.
I have a question. Does it have to be done to a structure, building that is a historic site?
Well, it has to be as some historic property that they're doing it to. So what they need to do is they will need to take it to their July 29th meeting in order to get it allocated. But what I've been able to obtain, I've only been able to obtain one estimate of the work. The first one is the streetcar waiting station that's located up near the cemetery. That's the only waiting station of the streetcar line that's left in the city. And it was at the northernmost point of where the streetcar turned around. So they're proposing that one of those is proposing to re-roof that. It is a fairly small structure, I would imagine 10 by 10 or 12 by 12. It's not that large. I have called Hewitt Roofing, and they're supposed to be getting an estimate for me for that. The second one is maintenance and repainting of the Memorial Park fountain. There have been some cracks in the fountain, which is causing it to leak. So I did get an estimate on that. It it would cost $3,500 to $4,000 to repair the cracks in the interior fountain walls and put the epoxy paint on the interior wall where the water is of the fountain. We're in the process of getting information from Robinson Iron, which is the company that repaired the fountain. If you look at the fountain pictures, you notice there's a little brownish orange section. And they were trying to determine whether that was something in the paint that they provided the last time, or what exactly is going on there, and whether or not it needs to be repaired before it's painted. So they're going to be getting an estimate for us as to what the cost of the paint, and possibly the city could repaint it or whatever. We'll have to wait and see. But what I'm asking you is if you want me to continue to pursue this.
If I could just make a comment, if the city is going to match this, then we're really talking about $17,200.
Correctly.
And so that's more than enough, I would think, to take care of the roof and also the fountain needs at Memorial Park.
Mr. Mayor, can we have a
I
motion
have-
before we discuss
I'm
this?
just making a comment. I would like to see, because I don't want to entertain a motion until I get this out there. I want to see that some of that could come to NAPAC. Because I think $17,200 is more than enough to take care of these two items with some left over.
We're hoping so. You know.
I just wanted to say that, and it's my hope that this board will make a motion to that effect. Alderwoman Hall?
I'll be glad to make a motion to that effect, Mr. Mayor, to include, I would move that the funds allocated would be used to re-roof the only remaining streetcar waiting station located on Cemetery Road, and the remaining funds being allocated to restorations for NAPAC.
All right. You did not include the fountain at Memorial Park in your motion.
The fountain.
The fountain?
Are we
There are actually
including both?
three.
I thought one was an alternate. Are we including both?
All
Both if we
three.
can. Yeah.
Well, absolutely, both if we can, with remaining funds be allocated to NAPAC.
Okay. All right. Motion has been seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion, Alderwoman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would love to see if we can fit it into some kind of signage. I honestly did not know what this building was my whole life. I thought maybe it had something to do with how people buried people. Maybe they stopped there earlier. I mean, I really didn't know what it was. So I'm glad to know now. But if we could do something to show what that is, so people would
There's
understand.
actually a plaque on
Is
there
it?
that says it's 1911.
I guess
So
I never noticed it. So, okay.
I would also like to point out that it is very close to the southern boundary of what was Fort McPherson. It's also very close to the historic signage for the original location and founding place of Jackson State University. And so by restoring the building, we actually then could see it utilized for further exhibits that could be sheltered within the structure.
Absolutely.
Just pointing that
But
out.
also, the city cemetery is on the National Register of Historic Places, so that's appropriate to do that streetcar.
Thank you. Alderwoman
Mr.
Smith?
But may I say,
I'm
I wasn't trying
Alderwoman
to say
Smith.
this wasn't appropriate. I would love for the visitors and people that come there to know what it is. And I don't know the plaques we have all around town. There might be something talking about our streetcar.
I think it's a great idea.
Mr.
But
Mayor,
Let's
I've
definitely
never
look
seen
into
anything in
that.
Natchez about the streetcar system back
Let's-
then. I mean, things
yeah.
I've read, but
And what we've asked the estimate for that roof is for Owens Corning architectural shingles, which have a 30-year warranty. That's what we're asking for.
Thank you. Alderman Frazier.
yes, Mr. Mayor. I thank you because this is a bit of history for me. I didn't know this. I done played over there all my life. I done played all upon it. I didn't know what that was. Do you have, my second question, do you have the date that this building was built and the date of the fountain? Are they on that?
1911, I believe, on the streetcar building. I don't know how old the fountain is.
How did you secure that?
I have a list of properties that was provided to me by Natchez Historic Foundation. It's been in the office for years of the different properties that, and what, there are usually surveys done by people who are trained in the to look at the older buildings and estimate what time period it is and so forth. Some of them, you can get from deeds or from, other references to it, but I have a whole list of them. They're individual properties, but they're also properties within the historic district that we have.
I'm glad that you put this out here because this wait station too is also a stopping point on the 4th of July when they're marching to the city cemetery, to the National Cemetery. That's where everyone stop at to cool off. So this is very important to our community. And I don't know if the newspaper, they need to publish that that's what this was. So thank you very much,
I
man.
think it was an important thing for the city because people who didn't have transportation could take the streetcar up and go visit the cemetery. So that's one of the reasons. And plus, it's the only one left. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Mr. Mayor,
Legault.
before-
Alderman Dillard?
Just for my curiosity, what is a CLG grant? What are those acronyms?
Certified local government.
Thank you.
And we are a member of that, and we have, what it requires is we have to have at least one of our historic preservation commission members go to annual training. That training is going to be in August, and so far I have 2 members that are going to attend, and I have attended in the past, and I intend to attend this year.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Ms. Sonora Cole, our Director of Parks and Recreation, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. How are you guys?
We're fine. Good afternoon.
I wanted to give a quick update regarding the restrooms at Concord Park, North Natchez Park. This is Concord's Park restroom. There are some pictures also of the interior with the new amenities that are inside on both sides. For the restrooms, we wanted to also get the board's approval once the restrooms were done and the concrete was poured to get a ramp poured at North Natchez as well as Concord Park for more wheelchair accessibility. Estimated price by Mr. Scott is $1,100 to get both poured.
Do I have a motion? Alderwoman Irving has made the motion. Alderwoman Hall has seconded it. We will entertain discussion.
And if you guys see, we left out some room so that we can make sure that once we're approved to move forward, we can install those water fountains.
Okay, thank you. We'll call for the question.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I just had
Alderwoman
one
Hall.
statement to make. With the elevations, as I alluded at our last meeting, under restorations of bathrooms, currently we are within the ADA guidelines for what we're doing. And but it would be good to have a ramp.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. All right. Thank
Also,
you. And good job.
Thank you.
It's great to see the bathrooms finally completed and looking so much better. Very good job. Next item.
Next, I put in you guys' packets, I created a special use permit packet as well as a vendor agreement with our parks, the renovations that are going to be finished this fall, as well as with the baseball fields. We wanted to come up with something that would protect our parks and with our maintenance department to make sure that they are being well kept, well maintained. And while we're having events and we're also approving events for the city or anyone else that comes in, if they're selling any goods, if they are profiting off of using our parks, then we're ensuring that they're taking care of them. We're ensuring that they're not damaging the ground. Because if they damage anything with the renovation of our parks, then that's going to be out of our budget. And it's going to be a part of our maintenance team to ensure that these parks are well maintained.
That
So
is
moved.
great. Motion has been made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderwoman Smith. Discussion on the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I think
Yes.
Mr. Attorney has reviewed this as well.
Okay, good. Alderman Frazier, you're recognized.
I have several questions. First one, Mr. Attorney, you reviewed this, correct?
I have,
On the one that allow inflated permit, that include jumpers and everything that would come into park, someone renting? Am I correct?
I'm sorry, I did not completely understand that, Alderman.
It said, and walk, these inflatable jumpers and stuff, if someone rent them, who gonna be responsible for if someone get hurt? The person that rent the jumper or the city of Natchez?
The person that's using the park, it is not the city of Natchez. This does not do away with the city of Natchez as a community. And they are required to get insurance under this
Yes.
contract also. But no, that they are responsible, and it says in there, you're responsible for your guests also.
So the person that rent, they're responsible for it,
Yes, sir.
not the individual that owned the jumper, but the person that rented.
Well, the person that brings it on the premises is going to be responsible for their guests, invitees, agents, representatives. And then the person that owns it, I don't know. Depends on whether it was a faulty design or something else. Look, I've said it before, we can prepare and we can hedge against lawsuits, but it only costs $160 to file one. I can't guarantee you that we won't get sued, but I think we're in good shape with the contract.
Okay, my other question is the grill permits. I looked at this commercial grill. What are you talking about? The grill that someone pulled behind a truck, bring in there, what?
Yes.
I'm looking
The
at
grill, it is for.
also I'm looking at the amplified sound permit. Who, do that come through the police department? The chief, do that come to you to get a noise permit? Yes, sir. Have you, so this is a fee, right, for to get this? So you have not been charging a fee for use, this is just for the park?
This is just for parks.
Oh, but see what I'm saying? If you're gonna you're gonna charge, for the, use of an amplified, device, you have to get a permit for it, whereas about if I could have something at my house, all I got to do is go to the police department and say, I get a permit, there's no fee at all.
Yeah, that's your personal property.
Excuse me?
It's your personal property at your home.
Exactly, but it's still a noise permit. We're trying to, the thing I'm just saying is that we're putting too many, this is too many permits in here. I think we should have just one packet, but this is like, you got permits for tents, grills, amplifiers, setup purpose, special application permit, copy of application, and driving license, walking, special permits.
Because there are different things
this
that
is-
you can do in the
this
city
is-
that we allow.
I'm
that we
sorry,
don't
one at
allow.
a time.
I'm sorry.
I'm not through, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Frazier?
This just, to me, is too much permit, and for a lot of these people that go into this park, this kind of like putting a burden on, because some of these people don't have the funds just to pay for all these permits. And I think a park is, if we go into a public park, it's for public use, not for you trying to, it seems as though the city is trying to make money. I know it's about upkeep, but we're there to provide service to the people. But that, like I say, Ms. Mayor, this is just my personal opinion. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Smith?
Would you mind clarifying, is it these are the reasons you would get a permit, or is it a one permit for each thing?
It is one permit for each thing. If someone wants to have an event at our parks and they want to bring a commercial sized grill, they want to bring multiple tents and all of that stuff, they have to get a tent permit, they have to get a grill permit to have that.
So is there any way to simplify it and by just having a permit, these are the permit reasons, you check off what you're getting? It does seem a little complicated.
I can minimize it to one paper where it says, but you would still have to pay for it.
Right. And how much is the
Because
permit?
it's-
I'm sorry.
It ranges from
I'm
on the
10,
second
20, $30, depending on what permit it is.
I don't know. We didn't review this in the recreation
The board
committee.
is invited to take this under advisement.
May we do that, Mr. Mayor? I'll make the motion.
Certainly.
We take it under advisement.
All right, a motion has been made by Alderwoman Smith to take the motion under advisement. It has been seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion on the motion,
The recreation committee will take this under, will review
Yes.
this.
and we'll come back at a later date.
Couple of questions.
The question's been called. Proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Before I leave, I just wanted to say that on next week, we are having our movie in the park onward at Duncan Community Park. It's gonna start time for the movie is gonna be 6:30, 6:45. And then also on the 23rd, we're gonna have our Fishing with Father. We already have at least 21 registered to attend. And then also we are doing our kickback to school event with workforce development on the 22nd.
Hey, thank you. Ms. Cole, you're doing a fantastic job for us. We appreciate it so much. We will proceed now to Robert.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
There's
Alderwoman
a
Hall.
vendor agreement. Are we gonna,
We have taken all of that
all of that
under
under
advisement.
advisement? Okay.
Yes, that as well. All right, Ms. Chief Arrington, you are recognized.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Since I was Friday, I'm gonna try to get through this really quick. Get y'all out here. You should have in your packets a lease package from Enterprise. This is for the vehicle that, the fire department vehicle that was wrecked. This is the replacement vehicle. So what you have before you is the finalized price of the vehicle and all of the equipment, lights, the tray in the back for the necessary equipment that we have to carry. This is the finalized price. Now, again, as I said last time, we have lights from the previous vehicle that may be able to be used. I can't say that they will just now because we have to get them to the upfitter so he can see what's compatible. So this is the finalized price if we use everything, but this price could quite possibly go down. But I just wanted to get this to you because I got this information shortly after the board meeting last time, and I would like to get this truck ordered before we lose it.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board? Alderman Davis has made the motion.
Second.
Alderwoman Hall has seconded it. It was actually a tie between you and Alderman Frazier. All right. We'll let the lady win the tie there. Further discussion now on the motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
To the attorney, I know that when the city purchases vehicles or items or whatever, there are contract prices. Does the state have some sort of contracting guidelines for leasing vehicles?
They do, but when we approved this last year, this is part of that same state lease contract?
Yes, and these vehicles are under the state contract pricing.
Well, you brought up the question. I noticed that it's being prepared under Chief Daughtry's name, so I'm thinking that's just because he was under that contract.
Yes,
So-
when we did the contract, they needed somebody that they can call in the immediate, so we just put Chief Daughtry's name on.
So if I understand the attorney right, this is under the state procurement and leasing policies that's set forth for these types of purchases, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
State contract.
And I'm on the second page, and you said the finalizing of the final price. Is the final price $44,254?
Say that again, Mr.
$44,254?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the other question, we were replacing the vehicle. Was that a 2016 or 2002, I mean, 6 vehicle?
2016.
16. And what was the mileage on that vehicle?
I don't have it in front of me. I think it was somewhere in the realm of 30,000
Well, 30,000, yeah. And Mr. Mayor, the reason I kind of bring that up is just, in some cases, I think, leasing vehicles makes the most sense. And I'm not so sure in this, because if we agree to do a 48-month payment of this, and if you help me with this, Chief, is our monthly payment going to be $1,136?
Yes, sir. That would be our monthly payment for the vehicle as well as the equipment.
You see, we've almost bought at that point, and at that point, the vehicle in the other one was 2016, and 6 years, only had 30,000 miles on it. That's almost a vehicle I think that you would want to keep. The other point I would like to point out, or I have a question on, it says a reduced book value at 48 months is $4,216. Does that mean that after 48 months, this vehicle will be worth $40,000?
Yes, sir. So the plan, the way this enterprise plan works is that at a certain mileage, at a certain year, they have a formula for that. They'll come get these vehicles, sell them, and then the surplus of money that we have from selling those vehicles will go into the next group of vehicles to lower the price on those. So each year, we should be saving money and reducing the price of what we get in vehicles every 3 years.
I might get you to walk me through it one more time. Is that the buyback proposal? Is that what that is referred to as?
No, sir. We lease the vehicle now, and in 3 years, they'll come and do an assessment of the vehicle's mileage, and the price of it, the value of it. They'll come and get those vehicles, sell them, and then the money that the city makes from those vehicles will go towards the purchase of a new set of vehicles. So instead of us, like now, I have several vehicles that are 2002, 1998. We won't have that problem. We'll always have new, fresh vehicles that will be under warranty for repairs and things that we may come in contact with.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Hall.
Chief, isn't this the same process we're going through with your vehicles from the police department that we've already approved?
This is
The
the
same
same
lease
thing that
program.
we've done before
Yes.
with the lease vehicles. With the police fleet,
Yes.
I have
Mhm.
2 vehicles in my fleet now. This one was a plan for us to get anyway, but it just came a little sooner because of the accident and the previous vehicle having to be towed out.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, have we seen a reduction in the cost of, or the expenses of the garage? Because that was the original intent, was that we would lease these vehicles, we'd have no maintenance on them, other than, the filters and the fuels and all that. Are we seeing a reduction in the cost of the garage, savings in that respect?
I believe we have. I don't have the information in front of me. I can tell you, however, that as opposed to waiting so long and vehicles being out of commission, waiting to be repaired, we are not having that problem now with the new vehicles. In fact, there has been no maintenance required, to my knowledge, to date, other than changing the oil. I mean, on the new vehicles. We've had no maintenance issues at all on the new vehicles. Yes, sir.
The new vehicles, the only maintenance that the city is responsible for, oil changes, brakes, and tires.
That's it.
Everything else, if there's a problem, we take it to the dealership. It happens under warranty. I can only speak for my vehicle. I've had an oil change. I think Chief Daughtry's had a few oil changes, but that's the only cost that these vehicles have been to the city, other than the lease price.
Alderwoman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it makes perfect logical sense that it will save us money in the long run, but I do think it's, be fiscally responsible to do a report on it. So we've now been in, how many years? Has it been 2 years or
No,
just
we're
one?
up this one.
Just one.
Not even a full
Well,
year.
once-
Maybe a year
Once
since
we
we
have
ordered
a year,
them.
and
But
I think bringing Justin
less.
into it, he'll know what's gone into with Public Works as well as other mechanics we've used. It would just be a smart thing to do. But I mean, it makes sense. Just like with anything, if you let a building get to where it's almost gone, it costs you way more instead of maintaining it regularly. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Call the question.
Question has been called. Second. Called the question. Second. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Chief Daughtry, you're recognized.
He'll be here in just a second. This is a letter that, it's a thank you letter from, former officer Aquarius Jackson, whose home burned down. Last year, he is now in, the Academy for Mississippi Highway Patrol. So we do hope that once he's completed his training, he'll be stationed in our area. But he wanted to write this letter to the board to thank everyone for all the help that they extended to him when his home burned down. He said, "Hello, everyone. Words cannot express the love and gratitude we have in our hearts for each of you. As an officer of the Natchez Police Department, I know it is my duty to look out, protect, and serve others, and I do it with honor. Although our home was devastated by fire, we were grateful for our lives, but overwhelmed and filled with the dreaded feeling of hopelessness inside, watching everything we basically own gone, never to return. Conversely, you, with your kind and caring heart, came to my rescue in combination with our family and gave us the push that we needed to move onward. And my family and I thank you. I want to give a special thanks to my Natchez Police Chief, Chief Daughtry, for being by my side. We thank everyone for your love, prayers, kind words, gifts, and all donations you gave. With love and best wishes, Officer Aquarius Jackson and family."
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you, Commander Green, and our best wishes to him. Yes, sir, Chief. Thank you.
We have two items on the agenda. I'm not gonna throw Commander Green under the bus, but she forgot to notify Commander Fry. So if we can we do that at a later point?
Yes.
We definitely want to recognize Commander Fry and also James Jones for retiring with over 25 plus years with the city of Natchez. The other item is off-duty employment. We've asked, and I know we talked about it before and it got tabled. We're getting a lot of solicitation from our business owners wanting to hire officers off duty. And I want to bring that to the board attention. I know that our attorney had looked into there was a new law that went into place. And speaking with the Keeper Stamps, he's the one who wrote the law. There are some provisions in there that allows the board of aldermen to make the stipulations and to carry out the way you want it done. That was just like an outline of how to try to help smaller cities who didn't have the resources that we had. But with our city being such a big tourism city, a lot of people downtown and all across we're getting calls from churches all over places for us to work off duty. And it'd be a way for our officers to make additional funds.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
I would like for the city attorney, if you already checked it, I'd like to make a motion that we accept that we are, some of the members of the Natchez Police Department be assigned to work off duty. Is there any other stipulations that?
No, not really.
And let me say this, Mr. Mayor, the law,
Yes, sir.
the law was written by the Keeper Stamps, and the Keeper Stamp is I'm very familiar with the Keeper Stamp, who was a former city councilman in the city of Jackson, and also he was the former president of the NBC Leo, the National Black Caucus. He was the president of that. So I know he's fully aware because he's not going to lead us down a rabbit hole and doing anything. So I just want to make that motion, and I can get a vote on it, that'll be fine.
And okay, the motion has been made and seconded by Alderwoman Hall.
No, sir.
I'm sorry, it was Alderwoman Irving. I am not hearing well. I will recognize Alderwoman Smith.
Thank you. I think the motion was to have off-duty officers be able to be employed, which I think we have that, but the issue isn't it that uniforms, that they can be in uniform. Isn't that, so the motion, you want to amend it to say include?
Yes, I will amend that motion that they be allowed to work off duty in the city of Natchez uniform, which is provided by the city of Natchez.
Mr. Mayor.
I had one more
I'm sorry,
quick thing.
Alderwoman
Right.
Smith still has the floor.
And I did want to ask, Mr. City Attorney about if this is, I know you've checked on this before too. Is it your understanding the city can go further with its own specifications?
At this point, I think it's premature because the law 172511 requires this on an employee by employee basis on a written order entered in the minutes by in this case would be the board alderman and mayor. Has to be insurance if they're going to be using vehicles up to the amount of 114615, which is $500,000. They have to enter. The employer has to enter into an indemnity and hold harmless agreement. I mean, if employees want to work somewhere, the board needs to approve the employee to work there. After this, I have a little.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry, Alderwoman Smith still has the floor.
Okay, can we possibly, we need a policy on this. We need to find out what we can do. And I'm assuming you're saying you would probably have to set them up to work at the saloon, at the church or whatever. They would already have to have an agreement in place when they would be employed.
My understanding of the law, and I've read it, I have it, I'll make copies for everybody if they want to look at it. But this is not a general policy that policemen can work at individual employers as independent contractors. This says approval shall be on an employee by employee basis and not by general order. That's in the law. So if somebody wants to work, they need to come before the board and we'll have a form and do a written order as long as they.
All right, if I may.
wait, let him finish.
I'm sorry. Are you finished, Mr. Callaway? Mr. Callaway, if you'll finish.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderwoman Hall has been wanting to be recognized, and then I'll recognize the chief.
yes, sir, I move that we take this under advisement until Mr. Attorney can explain this new law to us before we engage in this. For officers making money, I know you all have to make extra money. I do understand that, but we need to understand this law as well.
All right. Is there a second to that motion? Well, it automatically is to take that motion under advisement. So we just need a second to Alderwoman Hall's motion. It was seconded by Alderman Dillard. So we'll now discuss the motion to take it under advisement. Is there any discussion? Alderwoman Irving?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I want to say that we've done this previously. If you go back and you look in our minutes, each time, as our board attorney just stated, each time an officer we come and present to the board, under Chief Armstrong administration. We've done this. This is not new. That each officer, the chief will come and present to the board asking. Now, the problem was uniform, whether or not they could be uniform when this happened, as Alderwoman Smith just stated. That was more or less the situation, but there's never been a problem allowing them to work at a facility or event or any of that nature. So I think we need to go back and refer to our minutes. We do have something that's been recorded in minutes for us to look at. We have an example there.
Okay. Alderwoman Smith?
And to further along, what we need to know is, if you can't ratify, we meet twice a month, people, and the events are weekly, daily in Natchez. So that's where I know that was part of the issue with the last time. So we need to possibly get an AG opinion or talk to someone who can clarify.
Chief Dalter.
Okay, I understand what you guys are saying, but every time we talk about this and bring it before the board, the attorney gives us the same statement that we have to go over this again. You guys agencies all across this state that allow officers to work off duty. Now, as far as working in uniform, my concern is this. These officers can go out and wear a police t-shirt or whatever, but they're trained and they're employed by the city of Natchez. So I would rather them to be in the Natchez uniform so that people can see who they are. If one is a deterrent. And number two, when that car is parked out front, it's a deterrent for people that the criminal element that want to come up. When they come up, they're going to turn around because they see police. This is something we've been doing for years. The other thing is to keep the stamps in talking with him in depth about this. He told me, and he will be happy to talk. I'll give him your number, or you give you his number. That law was written as a blueprint. He said that the board has the governing policy. They're the ones that determine how this thing goes. And the reason why I'm frustrated, I understand, and please, man, please don't take it as I'm being disrespectful, but I'm losing officers. Officers are quitting because they're not making money. And that's the issue that I'm running into. I got churches calling me, I got business calling me, asking, hey, we need officers for this, for that. And they see us working all these other events. They want to know why we can't work there.
That's true. I'm sorry. Alderman Frazier has had his hand up. Alderman Frazier.
Let me say this, and I understand where everyone is their basic concern and everything else. But to my point is that why can't the Natchez Police Department work off duty, and whereas about you can go down to the Magnolia Bluff Casino and the sheriff department is working in the casino in uniform and have a sheriff car. So somebody please tell me what is wrong with that, the Adams County Sheriff Department and the Natchez Police Department. Two same entities, both are law enforcement. So and I see what the chief is trying to do. As he stated earlier, he's trying to retain people. There's no difference in a sheriff deputy and a policeman. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor,
you. Yes, Alderwoman
I just
Hall.
heard our attorney ask to allow him to review the law, and he will give it to us to review. He is the attorney on this board,
Yes.
and I would like to respect his
Yes,
request.
Mr. Callaway.
Just so everyone understands my position, I'm all for policemen working. And if you'll tell me where they want to work, we'll come before the board and get it approved. But I keep reading these words, and it's what I get paid to do. And that's, so I'm not against it, y'all, but the change was in July of last year. So what you had done previously needs to be modified. But it's an employee by employee basis, not a general order.
I'm going to bring this to a close. We are going to call a question because I think the motion to take this under advisement is reasonable. I would like to ask, however, that this be prepared in the next 2 weeks and brought back before this board on July the 12th with whatever procedure we're going to follow, and that it be done. And I'm going to ask our chairwoman of the police committee and the police chief to work with the chief, with the city attorney to make sure that we have a recommendation ready by our next meeting. So we'll now call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion to take this under advisement until our next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Chief, pick up that award and let's just get a look at it. We're going to have a more formal presentation at our next board meeting. But what I want to say is this. I'm sure everyone's heard by now, for the first time in our knowledge, the city of Natchez received the top law enforcement award out of 299 cities and towns. It's really outstanding. And we accepted this award at the Mississippi Municipal League Annual Conference Wednesday, and it was such an honor to receive it. We want to thank Executive Assistant to the Mayor, Richard Burke, for being the one who actually wrote the narrative and worked with the police chief in getting all of the information and data together. It celebrates the Viper unit, violent, immediate police emergency response. There's a lot to say. I'm going to say that Viper unit has been successful in getting guns off the street. Just a sample here, very active over the last several months. And other cities are now asking us how we're doing this. And in fact, and I want to ask for order, please. I would like to ask for order. I need to make sure people know this. We are even being now asked by the, I'm sorry, if I could please. We are now even being asked by the executive director for MML, Sherry Veazey, if our chief might be available for training at future MML conferences. MML is more and more now offering training for emergency personnel, police chiefs, fire departments, fire chiefs. And so Natchez, just as we did when we stepped out to lease vehicles and replenish our fleet a year ago, we're now being asked by other chiefs and mayors, how are we doing this? So it's wonderful for Natchez, and I just want to say a mighty thank you to our chief of police, the men and women in uniform who work so hard, members of our Viper unit. Members of that Viper unit will be at the Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting on July 12th for an official recognition.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, one thing I don't want the board and the mayor and the city.
I have to come to the mic. I know. People online.
One thing I don't want the city of Natchez residents and this board to go without. This award, we were up for cities with population with 10,000 or more. So that means that the city of Natchez beat out cities like Gulfport, Hattiesburg, Jackson, Olive Branch. We beat out some big cities to receive this award. So that goes to show you, and I want the citizens to know, I want them to be proud that Natchez is on the market and on the map.
We are so excited. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. We are now down to the, and we do want to say, Chief Daughtry, I know you don't have the letters actually with you, but we want to thank you. Your officers met with them on the morning of Juneteenth when we had an organization from out of state here. And you did an outstanding job of keeping the peace, making sure that the First Amendment rights were honored, but also to make sure that everything was done peacefully. Thank you for your hard work, working on Juneteenth Day and even Father's Day to keep our community safe. We also thank the Sheriff's Office. We thank various state agencies. Even the State Director of Homeland Security was here with his team on Father's Day, on Juneteenth Day. And we just thank everyone for making sure that all went well. And now, next item, city officials' reports. Alderwoman Hall.
Yes, sir. My first item has already been discussed in Mr. Johnston's report regarding the audit for the pool funds. And you've already alluded to our top award and our Mississippi Municipal League Conference this past week. That conference is for all municipalities in the state of Mississippi, for elected officials. And this year was also an outstanding conference with many presenters, from the legislative updates down to issues with cities from 10,000 over down to towns and villages. So it's very important that we attend these conferences to update ourselves on what's happening across the state, across the nation, and how we can better this community. So I thoroughly enjoyed going to every conference or every session that I attended at this conference.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Frazier, your report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I really don't have a report, but I would just like to say, on behalf of the Frazier and Fitzgerald family, I would like to thank the Natchez Police Department, the Adams County Sheriff Department, the Natchez Fire Department, and for their help, with their helping me in my time of bereavement, me and my family, my time of bereavement. My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law was sent out in style, thanks to the chief. And I want to thank the mayor and the rest of the board members for reaching out to me and being so concerned and kind with my family in my time of bereavement. Chief Daughtry, I just want to say thank you personally for your kind words. My in-laws that came from all over the country was very impressed with the city of Natchez and the way that y'all handled it and the escort and everything. I want to thank the chief. After I said, Chief, I told the chief, I said, thank you very much. Chief shook my hand, looked at me, and said, That's the way we do. We look out for each other. We look
That's
out for
wonderful.
family. And that was very heartfelt for me, to tell me that we take care of our own. So again, thank you, Chief, and all the other, and it's also the fire department. Y'all did an excellent job. Matter of fact, they did so good that they took us way up in Jefferson County almost. But that was something that was unheard of. So I just want to say again, thank you. One more thing. This weekend, on behalf of the city of Natchez, I was contacted by Mr. Mo Lyles, the Lyles Family Reunion. I'm doing a welcome on behalf of the city of Natchez. He came in contact. That's what Mr. Lyles wanted me to do. And like I said, words cannot express the way that my family and all my family members, the way that everyone reached out to us in this community. And it was very, very, and like I say, it's very overwhelming for me to talk about it. But again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your kindness. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. And you have been in our prayers and our thoughts and your whole family. Alderwoman Smith.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This will be short and sweet. I wanted to compliment Ms. Legault, and I know you did a typed out report, and it came in our packet. And Mr. Johnson usually does that as well, and other ones do too. So this isn't aimed at anybody. This is just saying how helpful that is, and I hope we as board members take advantage of the questions we can ask before the meeting, and try to keep our meeting times down, because you can tell we don't leave any stones unturned. We're gonna find out everything about everything before we do anything, which is a good thing ultimately. But thank you for that. NAPAC, again, thank y'all for the meeting today. And I just want to say congratulations, 300 more this 6 months than the entire year is a great step forward. And I know by the end of this year, it's going to be more. So we're excited for y'all. Well, actually, it's a little more into the year. I'm thinking our fiscal year, not the calendar year, but it's incredible. It really is. And I know it's going to even grow more in the future with great people like you and your board behind it. And then finally, I want to publicly thank the Mississippi Municipal League for putting on a great conference. And I know a lot of people don't realize how important they are to elected officials. And, with things coming down the road like the medical marijuana and so forth, I mean, there are so many things that if we didn't have them lobbying on our behalves, it's really scary what could happen with some of the bills that get passed and some of the bills that they kill, and all of the information they provide to us. So it's really important that we go to those, and I want to just thank them for all that they do to make sure that our cities are prepared. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman Irving, your report.
Mr. Mayor, I want to begin with thanking Mr. Dennis and his staff for allowing us to come here today to have this meeting, share the information about the past history, the present history, the future history that go on here within this museum. And I just want to say thank you. I also want to thank Ms. Legault. You've done a great job. You come on board and you just running with it. And I just want to say thank you. Had several calls from members of the community with changes. They were very satisfied. So I told them, give her a chance, go by and see her at the office, and you took care of them. So I just want to say thank you. The other thing, Mayor, I want to bring to the attention is Jackway Park. We still have some housekeeping to do there. We have poison ivy in the swing bed. I want to ask about the fence along the fence line toward the back of the park. It's still down. I don't know whether or not that's going to be taken care of in the very near future, but we still have the fence line that's down, a portion of that fence. Also, we have some boards that's fallen from the gable in front of the Angeletti house. They're still there. Those do have nails in them, so you may want to remove those from the property as soon as possible. I want to thank Ms. Cole. I don't know if she's here, she's left or not, but I want to thank her. The parks look great. The bathrooms really do look great. And to hear that we're going to get this, the ramp that's needed to assess the bathrooms in both parks, all parks, that's just wonderful news for all of us. But I want to thank her for all that she's done to upgrade the bathrooms in the parks and all the other amenities that she's doing. Also, I wanted to inquire whether or not Mr. Moon, has he left yet, Mayor? I know he's retiring. Has he left?
We,
or has-
technically yesterday was his last day,
Okay.
and
So-
we are going to be honoring him.
That was my next
He
question.
doesn't know it yet, but
Okay.
that's coming in the
Okay.
month of July.
Okay, good. I didn't want to leave him exit without, recognizing him, our tenure working with him. It's been a great 6 years. And that concludes my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Alderwoman. Thank you. Alderman Davis?
Be short and sweet. Thank you, Mr. Dennis, Ms. Legault, Police Chief, Fire Chief, and Ms. Cole. Y'all do a lot for the city. And I also want to thank the mayor and the board. We have really accomplished a lot within the last couple of years, and let's keep on doing what we're doing. Here's my report.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you. Alderman Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To kind of continue on with it, but I am looking forward to possibly the next meeting and maybe the board meetings afterwards, that we can kind of compile the information that we got from the MNL. A couple of ones that stuck out in my mind was particularly the difference between what a use tax is and what a sales tax is. Now, the word tax is in both of them, but there's a difference, and you need to know the difference because it makes a big difference. The other thing was with our franchise fees, is that there needs to be, a periodic review of our franchise fees, whether they have CPI indexes in there, or if you're getting paid on the time in the proper amount, and maybe it might be worth, revisiting those. So it's a wealth of information that they provide us with, and it works for all of the communities. So I'm looking forward to that in the upcoming meetings, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Dillard.
Mr. Mayor, before you
Yes,
go to
Alderwoman
Mr.
Hall.
Attorney, I would personally like to thank Ms. Legault. Ms. Legault was the city planner when I was on the Preservation Commission, and we're glad to have you back in your same capacity. Your godsend. Thank you.
Amen. City Clerk, is there any report from the clerk? All right. Thank you. City Attorney's report.
Mr. Mayor, I think we've already discussed the bids.
Yes.
James must put that under mine in case he got July 4th fever.
All right. All right. All right, Mr. Callaway, thank you. Mayor's report. We'll try to make this short and sweet. Discussion and consideration of a new B5 zone and other issues related to the new cannabis laws enacted by the state. I think it's very important that we have a motion to approve the map that has been prepared by our city planner with input from the city attorney, establishing a new district. And Mr. Callaway, if you could explain that very quickly, and this will be our first step in the process of identifying where medical marijuana facilities will be allowed under the state law. And then I'll follow up with a little more discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This began with Mr. Walker, and then as soon as Ms. Legault came on board, we put her to work helping us define this B5 district. It was a decision on where to put dispensaries, which is a planning decision more than it is a legal decision. And Mr. Walker had recommended the area that is shaded on the map, the geoportal map in front of you. There's one that you can see is like an aerial photo. And then Ms. Legault also prepared one that is not. And I think this is to give direction to people that might be applying for dispensaries. And I'm going to look to Ms. Legault to nod her head affirmatively or not. But in this area, we are specifically referring to dispensaries. Am I correct, Ms. Legault? And if there is to be manufacturers or distributing, the intention is to put those in an agriculture area. Am I correct? I mean, that was the initial discussion. But Mayor, this has to go to the Planning Commission, and Mr. Legault has already begun those proceedings. And what we'd like from the board today is an affirmation that this is what we want the planning commission to approve, and this is the area that dispensaries will be allowed in the city of Natchez, if the
Mr. Mayor.
board seems fit.
Okay. Recognizing you, Alderman
Yes, yes,
Hall.
sir. I would like to make the motion that this map be adopted contingent upon the planning commission's approval.
Motion has been made by Alderwoman Hall. Is there a second? I need a second. The adoption of this map. The motion will die for lack of a second. I think it's very important that we establish a controlled district.
The new law is going into effect today,
Yes. So we do
July
need a
1,
second.
2022.
We do need a second to the motion. If we don't have a second to the motion, what will happen, Mr. Callaway?
Then dispensaries will be allowed in light commercial areas, anywhere allowed by the statute within 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet of schools, churches.
Alderwoman Smith has seconded the motion. Alderman Frazier, you're recognized.
Also, Mr. Mayor, you let that motion stay on the floor too long. That motion had been dead.
I'm
Mr. Mayor-
sorry, the motion has now been seconded.
Well, I had an emergency coming in on my phone. I'm sorry. I had to look at it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, there's only one mayor, and I have ruled that motion in order. We will move on. Anyone who wants to argue that, I'll rule you out of order. Yes. Okay, yes, Alderwoman.
Mr. Mayor,
The motion is on the floor. Discussion
Mayor.
on the motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Frazier.
You know, I didn't come here to argue, like I said, I come here to get my pressure up.
Yes,
But
sir.
The motion did not carry. But I'm gonna say this, going from this, this map, I understand, but this, I think that we are moving a little too fast on these cannabis laws because they still haven't gotten the clarification on a whole lot of stuff through the state. Now, but this map here, to me, it's just centralized in one section of the town. We don't have one on the north side. We don't have one over there. But I think that if we're gonna do this, I think that we should have a public hearing on where it's about you want to place these distribution centers. That's just my personal view, but I think this map is just too centralized for me. It's on one side of town. It's a lot of people who's getting into this business, and they like say, this map to me is just down south. It don't have anything on the north side of town or anything. So that is basically my concern, and I'm just gonna be perfectly honest with you. I cannot go along with this.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Irving is recognized, and then Alderwoman Hall.
This requires public involvement, engagement. We need a town hall, because I've gotten lots of calls from members of the community that are interested. They have gone to the Mississippi website. They know the distance that they have to be, a dispensary has to be located from a school, a daycare, a church. They know the fees, but they are interested in applying, but not in this area here. We should have a lot more leeway. And I think this should be a decision of the community, not this board in totality. I think it needs to be the consensus of the community, because we all know that this is going to be an economic driver. This is economics here. And so at this point, I think we should be planning a town hall, giving a date to the community as to when we could come together. We've done the charrettes before when we were doing the downtown master plan. I think the same thing can work for this medical marijuana too, because we're getting the calls. We are getting the calls. And so it just doesn't need to be in this area. They could be down Devereaux, 61 North, that intersection there. I've got lots of ideas with people wanting to, and I think it just needs public input. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderwoman Hall.
the sessions that were given this week at the Mississippi Municipal League were given by attorneys relative to medical marijuana and issues facing municipalities. And the Mayor and Board of Aldermen has the authority to establish the area for the dispensaries. in their area.
I'm sorry,
And-
Alderwoman Hall has the floor.
And this board has already established several meetings ago that we were looking near medical facilities to have this done.
Yes, I would like to note the board is already on record having voted for this, instructing the city attorney and the interim city planner to develop a zone with respect to these areas. The board has already voted on that, and all the board is doing today is to have the final vote so that it may now go through the process. And it's my understanding that as it goes through that process, it will be handled according to our ordinances, and the planning commission will lead that process as is the way things work under our form of government.
And the
Further,
attorneys at MML also validated that it is done through ordinances.
yes, yes, Alderwoman Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize for having to go out for a minute, but I don't know what this discussion is. Stop me if I'm repeating something, but there's so many regulations already. It can't be the certain number of feet for the churches, the schools. I mean, pretty much our whole downtown almost is not even allowed right now as the law states.
That's right. That's right. And there are other areas also that are so close to schools, churches, daycares, as Alderwoman Irving pointed out. Medical marijuana is for medical purposes only. That is why we're looking at this district that is in the vicinity of medical offices. I know that someone asked recently, and I'll just go ahead and answer it, with respect to a medical clinic that exists on North Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street. That clinic is right across the street from a school. It would very likely not meet the guidelines at that site. This, though, however, does give clarity, and we aren't moving things along too quickly. Unfortunately, the state of Mississippi has already done that for us, because today is the deadline for individuals to even apply for their permit for these businesses. So, and so I'm talking about the first process. It's my understanding today is the deadline for that. So we have now had discussion. Any further discussion? We'll call for the question.
Called.
The question has been called. Second, we will proceed to a vote. We'll do this by roll call vote. Alderwoman Hall.
Aye.
Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving. Alderman Davis. Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item, discussion. Yes, Alderwoman
I
Smith.
do want to add, I mean, if this is an issue, I mean, we have public transportation that can get people to this area if it's a medical issue, just like they do the doctor's office.
That's
I mean, I felt like if that's what everybody's upset about, I don't know.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Discussion. We're going to move on. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have allowed that, but it was a question. It was a good point. We've already had the vote. We're moving on. Discussion of broadband grants and approval to proceed with RFPs. We are excited to announce that the state of Mississippi is now preparing for broadband grants that are going to be coming through. These are going to be administered through a new department that has been established under the Department of Finance, the director being former State Senator Sally Doty. Senator Doty actually gave a presentation Wednesday at the Mississippi Municipal League Annual Conference. She indicated that the first round of grants will amount to $162 million. And this is to make broadband more accessible throughout the state of Mississippi. We've had a number of discussions and meetings on this, and we have found that the recommended route for doing this is through the RFP program, the RFP process, that is a request for proposals. By following that process, it makes sure that we are going about this in a transparent way, and everyone has an opportunity to provide a proposal. We have been working with a group already that would like to, I know, make a proposal for the city of Natchez. We invite them to respond to the RFP, but at this time, we would like to see what the board's pleasure is in proceeding with preparation and distribution of a request for proposals for
moved.
broadband.
Mr. Mayor, I
Alderwoman Hall has made the motion. Is there a second?
would like to see
A
us table
second
it.
by Alderwoman Smith. We'll now have discussion.
I would like to see us
Alderwoman
table
Irving?
that, sir. I would like to see us table that at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Are you making a motion to table it? Okay. The motion has been made by Alderwoman Irving to table that. Is there a second? Okay. The motion dies for lack of second. We'll continue with discussion. Is there any further discussion regarding the RFP process for broadband grants? Alderman Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that earlier on, and it seems like it's been a long time ago, but anyhow, we were having these discussions. Are these the two groups that we have previously met with that you are referring to, or is there two new groups?
Actually, if you'll recall, we did engage the services of a consultant by the name of Bill Cook, and Mr. Cook has recommended that we follow the RFP process and has offered to help draft those RFPs. But anyone is welcome then to respond to the RFP.
And the RFP, is this for infrastructural development, such as these micro cells that would be scattered out all through town, or is this broadband working with the major carriers to increase the mileage of fiber optic? Do we have?
I believe it's for any company wishing to provide solutions with regard to broadband for the city of Natchez, and those solutions can be anything from equipment and infrastructure to strategy to recommended deployment of new technology, and we'll see what we get.
Will Mr. Cook be the person putting together the scope of work in these RFPs, or will that be forwarded on to us for review and comment?
He will assist us in the process, and we can be included as much as we'd like.
If he is assisting in the process, who is actually doing the process?
Well, he is drafting the RFP, and then once they come in, he will assist the city in reviewing the RFPs. We have asked him to also provide certification of his being impartial. He does serve on various boards and has been involved in this arena for a long time, but he has established that he in the area that we will be looking for service, that he has no conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderwoman Hall?
Yes, Senator Sally Doty is now over the a new state office for broadband, and she is also recommending the RFP process.
Yes. Thank you so much. We will invite further discussion, or we will call for the question. Question has been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We will now take this up.
Mr. Mayor, can you
Yeah.
do a roll call? There's some. That's fine.
I think. I don't think we have to have a roll call. Didn't indicate that anyone voted against it. Mr. Sago, Monroe Sago, has provided some valuable help to us at Watkins Street Cemetery. The cemetery has been greatly improved recently. We are working under state law that allows us to, under certain circumstances, provide for upkeep. And we had a problem with crepe myrtles, a bark scale infestation, and other issues. And this has been rectified by Monroe Sago. He has presented an invoice, $595, for providing chemicals treatment of crepe myrtle trees for bark scale infestation and pruning of all crepe myrtles. All other work has been an in-kind contribution. Mr. Callaway, what is the motion we will need in order to make sure that Mr. Sago is taken care of?
This came wait, so we will have a resolution. We've already resolved as a board, or y'all have, that this Watkins Street Cemetery meets the definition of abandoned cemetery as defined by 213721. We would acknowledge that and resolve that is a continuing state, that the mayor and board find that the worthy women of Watkins Street Cemetery are still unable financially or physically to maintain this premises as it's needed, and that in order to preserve the cemetery and assist with the Watkins Street Cemetery, which is a historic cemetery in the city of Natchez, that you're authorizing the expense of $595 to buy for chemicals applied by Mr. Monroe Sagan, authorizing the clerk to pay Mr. Monroe Sagan. That was not for labor, as I understand, Mr. Mayor. He just charged for the chemicals.
That is correct. Motion made by Alderman Dillard, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion on the motion. Yes, Alderwoman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just curious. I know we have a certain amount for mowing. So are we adding more things that we're doing?
This was found to be a very chronic situation.
I'm not worried about that, but
and it was not included in the contract
So,
for mowing.
but
That is correct.
Are we going to do more scope than we had said and agreed upon? So
At this time, we don't foresee it. This just came up. However, be aware the cemetery has been in need of care for some time. We'll see what comes up in the future, and we'll have more
we'll
conversation.
just need to plan to budget if we're going to start
Certainly.
adding invoices.
Yes, we certainly will. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, I
Alderwoman
agree with
Hall?
Alderwoman Smith. We can't continue to pay invoices after we've done an original resolution
Yes.
to identify it as an abandoned cemetery and take on the cost.
Thank you. And we will look at this more closely
Mayor.
going forward.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman
I
Dillard.
mean, I would agree that we have passed a resolution and we've set aside funds for this, that this would be, I would think, an inclusive type of activity associated with the property maintenance. You have to be careful with the words, but I certainly think that it would fit into the appropriated amount that we had set aside. And it's hard to know how many times a grass mow in a season. I've calculated 8.5 months, but sometimes you get more rain, sometimes you get less. So I see this not as an addition, but an inclusion of. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All right. Alderwoman Hall, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier? Alderwoman Smith? Alderwoman Irving? Alderman Davis? Alderman Dillard?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. Miscellaneous updates. I really just say this has been a great meeting. And again, it's been a pleasure to be here at NAPAC. I do believe we have one executive session item that we need to take up. Chief, is that correct? We do. I don't think it'll take very long. It is pertaining to a personnel matter in the police department.
We're going to do that. I have one little update on pending litigation.
And the attorney has an update on a pending litigation. Before we go to executive session, I want to remind everyone that we do have a very important weekend coming up. Everyone enjoy it. Be careful. We look forward to a great July 4th celebration also. And in addition to that, we do extend our sympathies to Robert Purnell and the loss of his lovely partner, Bernadette Wilson. And we also extend our condolences. We had Ms. Lily Irving, who works in the police department, lost her mother. And both of those services are this weekend, and we do extend our condolences. At this time, we have had our open determination for executive session. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for those reasons.
Second.
Alderwoman Davis has made the motion. Was it Alderman Dillard? I'm telling you, I can't hear in here, and I am tired. Who made that motion? Alderman Dillard made the motion, and who seconded it? Alderwoman Hall seconded it. We will now call call for the question. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We are now going to go into executive session. in. I want to say, wow, Dustin, thank you for all you've done to make this happen today. And Mr. Bobby and Nifa, we are back from our executive session. I will give a report as soon as we entertain a motion to adjourn our executive session and return to regular session. Alderwoman Hall has made the motion. Alderman Davis has seconded. Any opposed to that motion? Hearing none, motion carries. We're in regular session. And we did discuss a litigation matter. No decision or action was taken. We did discuss in personnel matter that pertained to the police department. No official action was taken. We now, though, will entertain a motion by any of our aldermen to approve recommended personnel disciplinary actions pertaining to employees numbers 2046 and 2552.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I'll call for the question.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We'll now entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Alderman Davis.
Second.
Seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Alderman Davis, as the author of the motion, would you like to provide a speech on why you made that motion? Anyone opposed to the motion is welcome to stay. Motion carries. Thank you.